Look at that lane right there, Poncho.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Have some double Falconettis, boys. No poke. Not happening. Not today, boy. No, get this happening.
I got NPC. NPC.
I can't see because of all the smoke.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me for another guide. We're going to be going over the unit that takes the glass cannon idea to a literal sense today with the Falconetti Gunners. And I like to take that idea to the extreme and play them as close as possible to the front line for just extreme damage. I have seen a lot of people using them for the long range builds to be able to pick off siege towers, hit certain areas in certain maps, and all while trying to keep them safe in the back and defend them. However, I'm very specifically going to go over how I use them in the front lines to stop a push or break a point like nothing else can in a siege match. So to start, unlocking them isn't super fast in that it's in the ladder of the units to unlock within its season. So you will have to work your way through some units first if you haven't already gone through that line. But for those of you who missed Season 3 or weren't here yet for it, don't worry, you can always change the season that you're grinding through in your F5 menu, so you haven't missed out on your chance. Of course, with the seasonal units, you will not have to spend any honor, so you can also be grinding through multiple unlocks at the same time while you're going for these. Season 3's challenges were also quite easy and quick in comparison to Season 2, so with a little bit of effort, it really won't take you that long to unlock them. As for the Veterancy lines, I think the top line and the bottom line can pretty much be simplified into long range and short range builds, and as I said, we'll be looking at only the short range play for this unit, so we're going to be going bottom line, and I'll highlight some of the differences here. To me, the absolute most important skill in the bottom line is actually right up in the front of the line with the 3 times 10% increase to movement speed. And this alone makes such a difference to how I'm able to use them that I would still go bottom line if that was the only benefit it had. But it also adds quite a deal of survivability with the increases to health, defenses, and the extra 2 men in the unit, which is actually a 20% increase in its unit size since it only starts with 10 men. The top line is very different and grants bonuses to the maximum range, damage, firing speed, and accuracy, but it leaves the unit extremely slow, the slowest movement speed in the entire game, in fact, at 3.5, as well as much squishier if any ranged is able to land shots on them. As a longbow, I can tell you that this is the difference between me killing the unit in 1 hit or 2, sometimes 3, which is huge in keeping them alive. And as we get into the gameplay, the benefits of the bottom line combined with the close range playstyle I use it for become much more apparent than they are looking at it just on paper. With the seasonal challenges itself, granting plus 25% accuracy and plus 100 piercing defense. In terms of damage, I think they've got that covered on their own, and so stacking more damage really isn't important. Instead, I add on the best health doctrine I have for them, and also because the plus 100 piercing defense is actually considered a Falconetti doctrine, not a defense doctrine, you can add another blue piercing defense doctrine on top of that as well. So the first clip I'm going over here is going to be a lesson on manual aiming with the unit. And since letting them auto-fire is almost never going to be a good option, I think it's one of the most important things to learn early. Falconetti cannons do not arc and land as it is shown in the UI. They will always fire a little bit further back than the circle shows. Even when shooting at long range and from extreme high ground like this, aiming just a little bit in front of the enemy is how you'll be able to get direct hits on it. But this becomes even more apparent when playing close range. And this was one of my earliest matches with the unit, and I didn't understand why I was missing so much yet. But if you take a look, you'll see at least half of the cannons are just sailing right over top of the enemy heads and hitting nothing. At some points like here, they're just not hitting anything at all. Now, on the flip side, if I go to the next clip and I can ride in and get a good angle and leave the attack circle fully in front of the enemy shield wall like this, it just absolutely lays into it and tears them apart, and then the enemy cav or whatever else can come clean up.
Yo, they're trying to kill me! Somebody help!
Secondly, playing the unit this way is much more of a game of timing, positioning, and team play, and that will all look different for each map. Some maps have some pretty cheeky angles that you can shoot out from, but you cannot statically roam around with this unit just looking for your in, or you will lose them. You have to be able to read the flow of the map and be ready to pull them out just as they are needed, as they are absolutely the #1 unit to target for every enemy player, ranged unit, and trebuchet in your match. It can be done solo, but having squad mates is definitely the best way to play them. Players who know where they are and know they need to be defended can bring shields to cover your angles and are ready to stop the inevitable diving heroes. But even when coordinating with good players, a lot of times you will still somehow lose a few of them, or you'll eat a random trebuchet that none of you saw, or that diving hero will manage to pick a few off, and so it's the timing that ends up standing out as the most important thing by far.
Oh my god!
No, he moved further into it. Oh my god.
Not like
God damn it! I will. No! No! Breathe!
Not like
Going!
that, dude.
Breathe.
12 seconds later.
It's rough out here for these Falcons. So instead I like to play to the safe spots in maps, areas that cannot be trebbed. A great example is the A point here on White Elk Fort. I know that as long as my unit is far enough down this alley, no trebs can hit it. And since none of the sidewalls are broken, I know no cav can sneak up behind me. There's also very few angles for ranged units or heroes to hit them back here. So with all of that added up, it makes for a great ammo dump location. I also want you to notice my formation and placement of the unit. I always use the line formation, and I always try to line them up vertically facing the direction that they are shooting. This just simply takes away some of the variable in their aim if they all get to shoot straight forward in a line, and you can see how many more shots actually end up hitting when I place them this way. But defensively, that's what a lot of it is for me. Using treb safe zones, popping in and out of supply depots for some quick disruption volleys onto a point, moving in to fire on some compact choke points, but mostly just trying to keep them alive and in reserve until the home point. Sometimes you can still end up with some incredible lines before home point, like here defending the supply depot as the enemy is trying to push towards home. But I would only ever think to make a play like this because I know that I've got a safe and close exit behind me to get onto home point, and I can safely retreat and prepare for that at any point in this fight. It's home point that is all reliable for this unit, on defense and on attack, but especially on defense. In the final minutes of a match, when the enemy is all massing up for their final push, a well-placed Falconetti unit can just straight up nope an entire enemy push, and this is usually where I end up finding the biggest value out of them. You're always guaranteed at least one big push that you can fire into. But it's the attacking side where we really get to see a more aggressive style of play out of the unit without the fear of constant trebs ruining your day.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Look at that. Now it's like, come fuck. Once you're ready, I'm gonna move up in about 10 seconds.
Even looking here at the same point on the same map, just from the other side, once you've got a foot in, your Falcons can pretty safely sit behind your team and fire into where the enemy needs to rush back to the point from, kind of acting like a constant trebuchet on the doorway they're desperately pushing through. And like this, it's near impossible for the enemy to actually make it to your unit, and even if they could, they have bigger problems to worry about first, like losing the home point.
And this should be homeboy.
That was disgusting.
Also, just knowing how tempting a line of Falconettis is for the enemy team, they just can't resist. It's a great unit to use for baiting, as long as you've got the team you need ready to cover them. You can get right up close and push supply depots right onto early objectives, and the enemy, they just can't resist. They almost always will charge out to go after your Falconettis, but as long as you're ready for it and you're keeping an eye out for the ranged, you should be able to keep them alive to the home point, where we've already seen how good they are. But I want to stress again that the opportunity isn't just always there for them, and a lot of it is keeping them safe, just out of sight, or pulling them out from a supply just at the right moment to line them up for some free shots on a big fight that's already happening, or blocking off a lane for the enemy to get back to a point from.
We came down and took the supply from some guy on it. Just got rid of.
When it comes to forcing a hole open for your team, you'll almost always need to coordinate that with shields though, and units that can keep you safe from ranged, because no enemy team is just going to take cannon fire for free without trying to respond pretty much immediately. A lot of times, like in this clip, even when you're perfectly set up to be safe from any kind of unit or hero attack, enemies will still set up siege equipment like mortars and do anything they can to stop your unit. But the value of the unit goes up exponentially the better your team play is. People are just expecting Falconettis to be way in the back defensively, and so if you can prop up a shield wall in the right areas, no one expects them to be followed up with a cannon line, and the Falcons can just roll up like...
Surprise, motherfucker!
And that's basically it for these guys on the close range play. Timing, positioning, and awareness of what threats the enemy has for you are the keys to this unit, and the more team play you have behind them to back them up, the more options and areas of the map are going to open up for you to take advantage of that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you get into a less known style of play with the unit, and for those of you who have actually stuck it out until the end of the video here, I'm actually going to be including a giveaway on this video that I didn't mention at the beginning. Because I kind of just prefer if I get to give it away to someone who actually enjoys the videos and didn't just come here for the free stuff. So with that said, all you need to do to qualify is like the video, be subscribed, and leave a comment below letting me know what's got you most hyped so far for Season 5. Alright, thanks again guys, take care.